So I have to admit, I woke up this morning feeling a little lonely and isolated. And so it made me want to experiment with a new way of reaching out to you to feel some connection. So I thought I'd try this experiment of a pre-Shabbat video message. So quarantine's been hard, and I think like all of us, I've been feeling lonely and isolated. And I'm grateful for some of the technical tools that we have to stay connected, like Zoom. Though I admit by the end of a day of hours of Zoom calls, I do feel, and I'm grateful to Ellen Bob for the term, I feel like a zombie. And I was at a Metzora class last night, and I so love that group. And I left the call feeling lonely. And I think the reason I felt so lonely at the end of the call was because I'm used to it ending, and then we sit in somebody's living room and we talk and we share, and maybe even I'm itching to get out the door, and then somebody starts telling a story, and I'm like, oh, I really want to know that. And it's just so great to be with people I love and care about. Which is a long way of saying I miss you. And being in this quarantine, for all of the tools we have to connect, it's not enough. I love it that we're calling each other, and it's not enough. You know, Judaism is predicated on face-to-face relationships, on being together. We care about getting together in a minyan because we know that when someone is in mourning, it means everything to have at least 9 other people standing there and just being present. And we know that when we have a moment of celebration together and we sing at the Torah, that something marvelous is happening for us and connecting us to the divine. So it's not enough right now. And furthermore, our quarantine, everybody's having their own experience. There are such huge divides in what's going on in people's lives right now. You know, for some of us, it's all about economic uncertainty and fear. For other people, it's a lot about worry, the illness itself, or concern for high-risk family members. For still other people, there's a sense that actually this is kind of a nice moment to take a breath or to be with family. And as sad as it is around us, actually what's happening right here can be quite nice. So we're all having a unique quarantine experience, which means weirdly it's even more isolating. But I'm here to tell you today, as we get ready for Shabbat, that there is hope. And that we're going to come out of this and there will be wonderful things. And that because we as a community are so strong and because we have such faith in God, this is going to come to an end and it's going to bring us to new hope. This Shabbat is Shabbat Tazria Metzora, where we read about the quarantine. We read about this strange skin condition that afflicted them in the desert, which they would treat, and once it began to heal, they'd have a 7-day further quarantine, and then the Kohen would check them, function as a kind of doctor, and bring them back into the community. So I have to admit to you that for years of reading this, and I've been reading it for decades, I found very little meaning in it. I got to tell you, by the way, I was studying with some high school students, and I was teaching them a lovely thought of the Chavetz Chaim, that when you speak, you should choose your words with as much care as you do when you send a telegram. And it was clear that none of these students really knew from a telegram. And I said, how many of you think I ever got one? And they all did, which was true. I got a telegram for my bar mitzvah, but it's the only time in my life. So I'm not that old, though I am 50. But I got to tell you, I've not found such meaning in it until this year. And this year, it seems to be talking to us. Somehow, the Torah intuited the medical knowledge that we need right now to keep ourselves safe. Somehow, Torah knew that putting somebody out of the community for a period of time, creating a quarantine and a separation, was a way of making sure that a virus could be stopped. And furthermore, it recognized the role of medical professionals, and I am so grateful to the doctors and nurses and caregivers who are daily putting their lives at risk to treat COVID patients. The Kohen functioned in that role and then could bring people back into the community. So the quarantine has to come to an end, and it comes with a kind of welcome back into society. But what's hard about this moment is we are all together in quarantine and all alone in quarantine. So who is there to welcome us back, and what will we be welcomed back into? And my distance from this parashah, the rabbis also had a problem with the parashah. For many years, thousands of years of Jewish teaching, they wanted to talk more about issues of gossip than about the quarantine itself. They saw an exegetical connection because Miriam gets the skin disease mentioned in Tazria Metzora. at the time where she spreads ill news about Moses' wife, that really what this parsha is about is the social ill, not the physical ill, of gossip. So even the rabbis had a hard time finding meaning. So one question to me is, why do we read this stuff that for decades and years and millennia can seem relevant, and then suddenly in a moment it shouts to us and talks to us? Look, I believe it's the same reason we remember the Holocaust, we remember the Spanish Inquisition, we remember other moments like the Crusades, the destruction of the temple. We remember moments of crisis because we know they end and are followed by golden ages. We know that terrible things can happen to us, and then wonderful things can emerge. And we know that most of the time is those golden ages and those wonders and those hope. And so I'm here to tell you that we've lived through things like this before and stuff that's much worse, and we've come through not only whole, but we've come through to a new golden age. That's why we remember, and that's why we read. When we think also about the ill of gossip, by the way, we see there a social ill that matches the physical ill or the viral ill of the skin disease, and how destructive that can be of community when we speak ill of each other and we break apart. And it reminds us of how much it is an effort to heal and restore and keep community together in the words that we choose and the way that we speak to one another. And the same thing about an illness. When we bring someone back in from illness, we are making an effort to reconstruct and welcome and strengthen again our culture and our society. So I woke up today feeling kind of lonely and separated. And I walked outside, and it is glorious. Spring is here beautifully. The outside is just filled with flowers and new life and leaves, and it is marvelous. And it's hard not to feel good in walking out there. There is hope hidden in the world. And when I get to take a walk with somebody, keeping my social distance, don't misunderstand, there is something wonderful, even 6 feet away, of realizing how carefully connected I am. And the effort that we're making to build connection. You know, people keep saying virtual hug. And it's kind of remarkable. I feel something in that moment of virtual hug. It's not enough, and it's not a substitute, but it is amazing. Somebody says, you know, I want to be with you and spend some time, and even though we have to keep 6 feet apart, it's still incredible that people want to connect even at this time of dislocation and disconnection. So I feel like we could give up, and we could lose hope. We don't know when this is going to end. You know, we count the Omer, and we count 50 days, and we know it's going to end with revelation and Torah and celebration and blintzes and cheesecake. There is something marvelous for sure at the end of this. But quarantine, we have no idea what's going to happen, you guys. And we don't know when it's going to end and how it's going to end. And that's difficult. And right now we've been doing it for weeks, and it seems to stretch out indefinitely in front of us. But I want to remind you, we've been through these things before as a people, as a community, as a world, and we remember Baruch Atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. We praise God who redeems, who brings hope into the world. We are not stuck. Something will change and new hope will emerge. So look, I believe that at the end of this quarantine, we can learn some wisdom in it. Maybe we can learn to take a breath, to appreciate some stillness and some quiet, to realize how much we value face-to-face and community, and how important it is to invest in healing the world. And if we can take that wisdom with us out of quarantine, we will be partners with God in building a new golden age. We will see a golden age for Kol Hamet. We will be in our new building. We will be together. We will celebrate, and it is going to be wonderful. We will imbue the walls of Kol Hamet with chesed and compassion and caring, and it will inspire us to do good work in the world around us. We will remember how important community is, and we are going to treasure even more when we get to be together for a minyan or a class or just to have a drink. And we are going to begin to prioritize friendships in a way that we haven't, because we know we used to put them off. But then we had quarantine and we remembered friendships are why we live. And we are going to remember that we need to care for the world around us. And we are going to build a new golden age in Silicon Valley and in the world, because we will bring greater caring to people who need it. We know that there are people who are hungry. We know that there are people who are afraid right now where their next meal will come from, about their immigration status, about their housing. And we know that as a community, we are doing things right now to help. We are making donations to Life Moves, and I'm proud of us, Kol Hamet. We've raised over $3,000. We are working with our own hands to make snacks and blankets and masks to help people who are serving the homeless and the hungry. And we're going to take that wisdom with us into the new Kol Hamet, and we are going to help build a golden age where we want to create a whole society that is filled with goodness and with justice. And we are going to remember the message of this Parsha, that social ills like gossip and speaking ill bring havoc, and that we are going to bring words that are filled with healing. We are going to build bonds. We are feeling right now, we're having the most extreme shared experience in my lifetime across the human race. And that is going to help inspire us to build a new golden age where we carry that wisdom to remember we are all connected. We cannot forget our delivery people or those who do service for us or faculty or doctors or anyone. We all matter and count. This is a hard time, my friends. And I'm feeling sometimes exhausted and sometimes filled with joy for what can be. And I believe in a God who redeems Israel and who redeems the world. And we are moving towards hope, and we will uncover a wonderful and new golden age. I wish you a delightful Shabbat. Please take a breath, please enjoy and celebrate, and I so look forward to being in touch in whatever ways we can uncover in the next few days, weeks, and months. Shabbat Shalom.